go ahead, Janari.
Chapter 5, The Ascent of the Sacrifice 1, The Works of Knowledge, the Psychic Being. This then is in its foundations the integral knowledge of the Supreme and Infinite, to whom we offer our sacrifice. And this the nature of the sacrifice itself in its triple character: a sacrifice of works, a sacrifice of love and adoration, a sacrifice of knowledge. For even when we speak of the sacrifice of works by itself, we do not mean the offering only of our outward acts, but of all that is active and dynamic in us. Our internal movements, no less than our external doings, are to be consecrated on the one altar. The inner heart of all work that is made into a sacrifice is a labor of self discipline and self perfection by which we can hope to become conscious and luminous with a light from above poured into all our movements of mind, heart, will, sense, life, and body. An increasing light of divine consciousness will make us close in soul and one by identity in our inmost being and spiritual substance with the master of the world sacrifice, the supreme object of existence proposed by the ancient Vedanta. But also it will tend to make us one in our becoming by resemblance to the divine in our nature, the mystic sense of the symbol of sacrifice in the sealed speech of the seers of the Veda.
Yeah. Okay, so we have come back to the idea of the sacrifice. There are 80 pages of the ascent of sacrifice. Ascent of sacrifice 1, then ascent of sacrifice 2, and earlier also there is a chapter. So he's explaining what ascent is from the Vedas, the Yajna, and also it is mentioned in the Gita. So, what is the sacrifice exactly? The sacrifice is that whatever you are doing, you offer to the divine. Your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, even whatever you have, okay, physically also what you have, you offer everything to the divine. So that is easier said than done, but that is the ultimate aim and goal, and particularly in the integral yoga. Okay, so make a connection with the divine by constant remembrance and offering, remembrance and offering. In fact, Sri Aurobindo says very often in his letters, remember and offer, remember and offer, whatever you are doing. Right. So each sentence is fairly simple, nothing much. This then is in its foundations the integral knowledge of the Supreme and Infinite to whom we offer our sacrifice. And this nature of the sacrifice itself is in its triple character: a sacrifice of works, whatever you are doing, your actions, you give it to the divine, and then start the work. A sacrifice of love, establish a connection between and do whatever you are doing for the divine. In its triple character: sacrifice of works, sacrifice of love, and adoration, a sacrifice of knowledge. So even when you are doing works of knowledge, the Jnana Yoga, that also constant remembrance and connection with the divine. For even when we speak of the sacrifice of works by itself, we do not mean the offering only of our outward acts, but of all that is active and dynamic in us. So, what is active and dynamic in us? Our mind and our vital and our body, everything. All this has to be offered to the divine. Active and dynamic in us. Our internal movements, that means your thoughts and your emotions, no less than our external doings, are to be consecrated on the one altar. So in the ashram, that's what we try. All the children, before starting our school, we have a little music, and you are asked to remember the divine. And at the end, also in the playground, also there is a little concentration. So this is the idea at the beginning of the idea, to inculcate into all the children the idea of remembering the divine and offering everything. In one place, he says, in the beginning, remember and offer, and at the end, give thanks. In one letter. The inner heart of all work that is made into a sacrifice is a labor of self-discipline and self-perfection. by which we can hope to become conscious and luminous with the light from above poured into all our movements of mind, heart, will, sense, life, and body. In other words, right from the highest of our present being to the absolutely the last, which is the body. Note the words mind, okay? That's a pure mind. Then the heart, the higher vital. Then the will, okay? The will is there also. The real will is in the psychic being, but it expresses itself also through the pranic element, okay? Then sense, which is the physical vital part in you. It's physical as well as because the nerves gives you the senses. So that's the physical. The will is more the vital, but the sense is your physical vital. Life, he has gone into great detail to give all the different gradations of the being. And finally, in fact, Srila goes to such an extent, he says there's a difference between physical vital and vital physical. There is no difference. So that's why you will see he's making a distinction between will, sense, life, and body. These are all different parts of the body and life and mind and running into each other. That's why he has listed so many parts in you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. Mind, heart, will, sense, life, and body. The distinction of mind is very clear. The distinction of heart is also very clear. It's your higher vital. The will is from your psychic being, but it's also a little bit of the mental also. There is a will. And then the lower vital. You can't say lower vital, but the vital in you. Okay? Will. And sense. Sense is also very clear. It's the nerves that give you the senses. Therefore, the nerve is part body and part vital. Life, even more fundamental. Life, the element of life in you. And finally, the body. An increasing light of divine consciousness will make us close in soul and one in by identity in our inmost being and spiritual substance with the master of the world sacrifice. The master of the world sacrifice is the highest, the Ishvara, okay, which is the supreme object of existence proposed by the ancient Vedanta. So, but will make you close, and is using very interesting word, spiritual substance. The body is a material substance, but your vital is a subtler substance, your mind is a subtler substance, and all these substances can be made permeated with the spirit, and when the spirit enters into it, it becomes spiritual substance. It becomes pure and subtle. So this is the what he's saying, that the substance itself can be purified and made and can be made spiritual. Okay, let's go a little more into detail about the substance. Your bodily substance is matter, but into which a little bit of life has been put in. So therefore, your body is a vital substance. It's interesting. You can see how the substance itself becomes finer and finer. Then your mind is the brain. The brain actually is matter, but it is activated. All the nerves go to the brain finally. 72,000 nerves go to the 72,000 nerves is mentioned in the Upanishad, okay, not in medicine. But 72,000 nerves go to the brain, and the brain is sending all the messages through the nerves to the body. And your brain is matter combined with life and thought. Mind has percolated, so that's a mental substance. Therefore, it is possible for your other parts also. All that can be spiritual substance. When it is purified, it becomes spiritual substance. Okay? It's like a glass of dirty water. You remove all the dirt, it becomes pure water. It becomes spiritual substance. With the master of the world sacrifice. Master of the world sacrifice, very easy. At the highest level, Ishwar. Or they use the words Purushottama. Okay? Purushottama. And Paramatma word used very often. the supreme object of existence proposed by the ancient Vedanta. Now, he is using the word ancient Vedanta. Why is he saying that? Because it's not a later Vedanta. He makes a distinction between ancient Vedanta and later Vedanta. Later Vedanta is the idea of Maya and misinterpreted to mean that the physical world is unreal. So Sridhar wants to go back to the ancient Vedanta, which is the Vedic period. Okay? So note very carefully, the word ancient is not just descriptive, it is meaning specifically the Vedic period. Because he uses the word later Vedanta also. But also it will tend to make us one in our becoming. Not only in the higher levels of being, but also the becoming in the lower part. So you become one with the divine in the highest part of your being, as well as the lowest part of our being. One in our becoming by resemblance to the divine in our nature. That's he has told you, if you remember, the Sayujya Mukti at the highest level and Sadharmya Mukti at the lowest level. So this resemblance to the divine, he is talking of the Sadharmya Mukti. You put down the nature of the divine. The mystic sense of the symbol of sacrifice in the sealed speech of the seers of the Veda. Now he is openly talking about the Veda. Earlier he said ancient Vedanta, now he is saying Veda. And the symbol, the sacrifice is a symbol. When you speak of the yajna, it is not just pouring ghee, physical ghee into the flame and adding all sorts of things. Of course, in modern India, you have forgotten that the feeding the fire and putting all these things is a symbol. Actually, it's a symbol. In other words, whatever you want to get rid of becomes fuel for the fire. Okay? So that is the sealed speech. It is a symbol. The sealed speech of the symbol. And Mother says in one thing in one place, she says that whatever you want to get rid of, think of it as fuel and throw it into the fire which you build in yourself or even outside yourself. You can imagine a fire building, burning, and you are throwing your desires, your hate, your wrong thoughts, your feelings of irritation, anger, all these things you throw in that fire. And you can use your imagination for making it absolutely concrete. You can even, when you throw your desire into the fire, you can even imagine the fire burning more brightly. Okay, so that's what he's saying. It's a symbol. So sacrifice is clear. Establishing a connection with the divine and offering everything to the divine. Very important. And that is one of the main things in Surendra Yoga. Sacrifice. Remember and offer. Remember and offer. These are Surendra's words, not mine. Remember and offer. We go to the next paragraph.
Rangada, one question. In the
Yeah,
Vedas, this spiritual substance, like the material world, won't become like divine, no? In the Vedas, have they said about it?
Okay.
Mind and vital being can become, but
in the material world, the body of a normal man will not be a spiritual substance. It will be a material substance. But in the supramental race, okay, because our body is definitely more sensitive than that of an animal. So it has grown, okay, we can think. So exactly in the same way, that's why I use these words of vital matter and mental matter. Then the spiritual matter will be that of a supramental being. A supramental being will have a body which will have spiritual substance. And it will be not rigid like that. It will not have a bones. It will not have flesh. Okay, it will not be made of carbon and all this, but it will be a combination of matter and spirit. It will be flexible. Srimad described the divine body in the supramental manifestation upon earth. The last piece of writing that he did before he passed away in 1950. It was published in the bulletin from 1948 to 1950. There are, I think, quite a big, it's a big book, Supramental Manifestation. So, yes, Pallavi, it was your question, right? So, it is possible to have a purely material substance like a stone. It's possible to have a vital substance as in the animals. It's possible to have a mental substance in the human being. That's a brain, not your muscle. Muscle is only vital substance. Finally, in the supramental race, even the body will be spiritual substance. In other words, it will not be rigid, it will be flexible, it will obey the will. Right now, our body can be made to respond to our will, but in a very limited manner. When an athlete is willing himself to do something and he breaks a record, the body is responding to the will, but in a very imperfect manner. But in the supramental race, even the body will become absolutely divine. It will be spiritual substance. Okay.
No, what I meant is, in the Veda, do they touch on this or no?
It's not very clear in the Veda.
Okay.
It's not very clear.
Did the people, the Vedantic people, seers, did they know of the supramental, or they reached only the
That's what I
overmind?
thought.
No. Very clearly supramental.
Oh,
Very
they
clearly.
reached.
Yeah, I don't know if they reached, but they had the experience certainly. I have a feeling that nobody has reached in this sense of permanently. Nobody has reached, because then the supramental body would be there. But until now, we have not seen any evidence of a supramental body. But in the future, it will certainly be there. But they have reached in the sense of experience. There is no doubt about it. Even Swami had the experience, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not achieved. In fact, these are the words Swami uses. I have not achieved the supermind, but this was in the 30s to Niruddha he is writing. But I am in contact with it. That's what he writes. So finally, how much of a contact he was there in 1950, we don't know. There is no evidence. But certainly he was in contact.
May I digress a little? In this
Yes,
time's
yes.
bulletin of August, there
Huh.
is one topic on transformation of the body, and Mother has written that various avatars have come and gone to do
Yes,
various divine work, but
yes.
nobody could transform the human body.
That's right.
You know, nobody. Like,
That-
it's still evolving and evolving.
That's right. That's right. But now Swami is giving us the promise that it can be done. The supramental race will have a transformation of the body itself. And what will be that body? It will be plastic. It will be completely obedient to the will of the divine. It will be capable of the divine supramental race will be capable of manifesting his own body. It will not be a biological method. It will not have a fixed form. It can take any form it wants. And in fact, Mother has said that would be the psychic being which enlarges and becomes the supramental body. He said that in one case where she had an interview with an American lady who was looking after the American correspondence. I forget her name now, but she used to live just by my side. Okay, she used to live there, not when I was there, but before that. And she said that she saw her being, her psychic being, larger than her body. Okay? And that, she said, would probably be the supramental body. So it will be a body which will be deathless. It will be a body which will be free of all illness. It will be a body which will be subtle. There will be no organs. The organs will all be replaced by chakras, energy centers. Now, all the 7 energy centers which are there in the subtle body, they will take over the function of everything else, of mind, of vital, and of movement in the body. The chakras will do everything. Energy, Shakti, that will be done. Okay? So,
With humor, can I say something? That when the supramental body will come, all the doctors will be out of business.
no, No.
No,
What
because
about all the other human beings?
but human beings are there, no? How
Yes.
No,
There-
I'm thinking of the utopia when everybody on earth becomes supramentalized. Then there'll be no doctors.
okay.
But that will never happen, na? Isn't it, Rangada?
No,
Yeah,
Because
I
that
when
think
will happen.
man,
That will happen.
when man, no, Yasmin, let me complete. Because when
Yeah.
man came, even if man is fully developed mentally, animals and trees and matter, stones didn't disappear, na? And I think this has been
Exactly.
mentioned by Sri Arvind and Mother in different places.
Yes.
I can't give the exact reference, but
Yes.
that's what they have told. That I think in even Life Divine last chapter, Sri Arvind has clearly told this, that even when supramental race does come on earth and exists, the other race, human being, will still be there.
That's right.
There will be a group of supramental community, but the other community will also benefit by the coming of supramental community. But the human community will still exist. Like with the coming of man, the animals did benefit, but animals are still there. I think that is what I mean. Little what I have read, I don't.
Exactly.
Rangada
But
can.
but you see, the supramental race will have various powers. So now the human beings will go to the supramental as doctors to get cured.
They will be helped. Human beings will be helped much faster to go to the supramental race. And the animals will get much faster help from the to become human beings. That's right. That's everything. It will have a percolating effect downwards. When the supramental race comes, it will be much easier for men to become supermen, for animals to become human beings, and for sheer matter to become living beings. Certainly, it will happen. Because, as Rebno said, once I have built the path, others can use the road. Exactly what's being happening now. Even physically, that is a fact. No? Now we are. I saw today in the in one of the videos that the biggest highway is being built between Bombay and Delhi. When that is built, 8-lane highway, okay, everybody will be able to use it. You will be able to go much faster from one place to another. When Sremda is building the bridge between the lower part and the higher part, it is subtle, but that doesn't mean to say that it is unreal. It is subtle and everybody will be able to use it. It will go much faster. This is a fact even in the physical world. No? Once somebody does something, others can do it much easier. At one time, climbing Mount Everest was the most difficult thing. Nowadays, even sometimes school children are doing it. Slightly elder school children have done it. Okay, that's exactly what uh, will happen. But the what Yasmin mentioned, that she's thinking of the time when everything will be utopia. She said, uh, will that ever happen in time, or is that an ideal condition towards which we are traveling? That's the question that you have to solve for yourself. It's an aim. Certainly, it's an aim. But when will that be done? Is it going to be done in time? That's what you have to think. If you ask me, I feel that it is going towards that. But if it reaches a certain level, then you are, in a sense, saying that the divine is limited. Nothing more is possible. So that doesn't sound very reasonable, number one. Number two, as you go on increasing, your power to go into the inconscient increases. But more and more you are going deeper and deeper, and the inconscient is being pushed downwards, just as the human knowledge or supramental knowledge is being pushed upwards. So the conscious area from the lower to the higher is going on increasing. Upwards also we are increasing, and downwards also we are having power. But this process will go on, but the highest will always remain infinite, and the lowest also will remain infinite. This is what I understand. In other words, the evolution will continue and it will go on expanding the area of knowledge upwards as well as downwards. But upwards, if you say that there is a limit, then the divine is limited. That can't happen. It's infinite. And below also is this infinite, na? It's a infinite. The darkness is infinite below. So it goes on increasing. But as I said, the area between the higher and the lower will go on increasing. Upwards and downwards. When Srimdo is God's labor, he is digging down. That means the lower parts also are becoming available to man for transformation. That's what will happen with the body. The body is the matter which is almost inconstant. That will become constant. Okay? So,
You
let's go.
know, somewhere
Yeah.
both
Yeah, tell-
Mother and Sri Aurobindo have mentioned that there are levels beyond the supramental.
Yes. There are levels even beyond the supermind. Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
nobody
then the
Yes.
supramental race has to now go higher up the ladder into those planes which we are not even aware of and which Mother has not even mentioned.
Yes. Why? Because the consciousness may be able to go up, but you can't come down to give a report. So nobody knows as yet because that bridge has not yet been built. Okay. Just as we human beings, we can also build bridges between our outer nature and our inner nature. The bridge has to be built. And if that bridge is built, then we can remember all our dreams perfectly and we can remember what happens in our sleep area because we are constantly, there is action and motivation going on even in sleep. So that's what happens to yogis. They become conscious of the inner and the higher. So that is something that has not yet been explored above the supermind. It has not yet been explored because you can't come back to the report. Srimdo uses the word Parabrahman. He says that it's like a porch, it's like a building, and the supermind is the antechamber, the first reception room, if you want. Up to there you can go, but if you go into the building, you can't come back to give a report. So what report will you give? Nobody knows about it as yet. But once a bridge is built, it will certainly be possible to give a report also. So that's it. Okay. So shall we read the next para? But if this is to be the character of the rapid evolution. Let's read the next para.
Shall I read?
Yes.
But if this is to be the character of the rapid evolution from a mental to a spiritual being contemplated by the integral yoga, a question arises full of many perplexities, but of great dynamic importance. How are we to deal with life and works as they now are, with the activities proper to our still unchanged human nature? An ascension towards a greater consciousness and occupation of our mind, life, and body by its powers has been accepted as the outstanding object of the yoga. But still, life here, not some other life elsewhere, is proposed as the immediate field of the action of the spirit, a transformation, not an annihilation of our instrumental being and nature. What then becomes of the present activities of our being, activities of the mind turned towards knowledge and the expression of knowledge, activities of our emotional and sensational parts, activities of our outward conduct, creation, production, the will turned towards mastery over men, things, life, the world, the forces of nature? Are they to be abandoned and to be replaced by some other way of living in which a spiritualized consciousness can find its true expression in figure? Are they to be maintained as they are in their outward appearance, but transformed by an inner spirit in the act, or enlarged in scope and liberated into new forms by a reversal of consciousness, such as was seen on earth when man took up the vital activities of the animal to mentalize and extend and transfigure them by the infusion of reason, thinking will, refined emotion, and organized intelligence? Or is there to be an abandonment in part, or preservation only of such of them as can bear a spiritual change, and for the rest, the creation of a new life expressive in its form no less in its inspiration and motive force of the unity, wideness, peace, joy, and harmony of the liberated spirit. Is this It is this problem most of all that has exercised the minds of those who have tried to trace the paths that lead from the human to the divine in the long journey of the yoga.
Yeah. So the long para, basically what it is saying is, we are saying that we want the divinization of our lowest part of the being also. Not only the body, which will be done later on, but even the vital has to be completely become pure and full of energy. And the mind should be without any clouds of ignorance. So, how is that to be done? Because the physical world is so full of the opposite of the divine. If the divine is light, here is darkness. If the divine is consciousness, there seems to be unconsciousness here. Matter is unconscious. If there is complete truth at the highest level, here we have perversion and falsehood, okay, in every way. So, this is the problem that has to be faced. So, he will now discuss many problems, many solutions to the problem. What are we to do? Are we to give up completely, or how to deal with this problem? That's what he is saying. So there are many solutions. He'll give you 3-4 solutions, not his own solution, but the solutions offered by the moralist, the solution offered by the Mayavadin, the offered solution by the Gita, and the solution offered by Sri Aurobindo himself. Gradation of solutions will be there. We'll go through this para. We'll read each sentence and see. But if this is to be the character of the rapid evolution from a mental to a spiritual being contemplated by the integral yoga, the problem is in the integral yoga. The other yogas don't have a problem because they are not bothered about the lower parts. Okay? So, contemplated by the integral yoga, a question arises full of many perplexities but of great dynamic importance. It has got a practical importance. How can I make my falsehood into truth? How can I make my unconsciousness into consciousness? How can I make my lack of power into full power? That's the question. So, of great dynamic importance. How are we to deal with life and works as they now are? Now they are so full of imperfections. How to make that perfect? With the activities proper to a still unchanged human nature. An ascension towards a greater consciousness and occupation of our mind, life, and body by its powers has been accepted as the outstanding object of the yoga. We know that we can ascend towards a greater consciousness, and occupation of our mind, life, and body by its powers has been accepted as the outstanding object of the yoga. The yoga with a Y cap, integral yoga. But still, life here, not some other life elsewhere, okay? Not in heaven or in the higher levels of spiritual knowledge, is proposed as the immediate field of action of the spirit. The integral yoga says divine has to work here openly, okay? Not in a hidden manner as it is now. The divine is working in the physical world now also, but he is hiding behind the veil. But he wants it openly. And that will happen when the supramental race comes. So how to do that? That's the question he is raising. But still, life here, not some other life elsewhere, is proposed as the immediate field of the action of the spirit. Note, interestingly, that all the others are offering perfection, but in the higher planes. Okay, the Leela, the Vaishnava theory, and all these, there is a heaven. Go there, and everything will be perfect. That's it. But Sri is saying, no, I don't want it perfect there. I want it perfect here in the physical world. A transformation, not an annihilation of our instrumental being and nature. The transformation is Sri Aurobindo's solution. The annihilation is the Buddhistic solution as well as the Mayavadin, okay, and many others also. They say impossible to change the physical world. Instrumental nature, instrumental being and nature, your body, mind, life. They are instruments. Instruments for what? For gathering experience in the physical world. Who is gathering the experience? Your psychic being and yourself, which is up there. It's gathering experience and growing from life to life and using the instruments of mind, life, and body. What then becomes of the present activities of our being? Activities of the mind turn towards knowledge and the expression of knowledge. So, note interestingly, activities of the mind turn towards knowledge, acquisition of knowledge and expression of knowledge. Sri Aurobindo language is very, very clear now. He's saying you have to acquire knowledge, but you have to also express knowledge. Inward movement and outward movement. Activities of our emotional and sensational parts. Activities, which are the sensational parts? Your physical, vital parts are all sensational. Sensational parts are all the senses. No? Emotional, the higher vital. And the sensational parts, all the senses. Activities of outward contact, creation, production. Okay? The will turn towards mastery over things. Life, world, forces of nature. Okay, this is very interesting because Aurobindo is going back to the theory of the caste system. So, because what type of works? There are works of outward contact, the physical. Creation. So, who is creating? The artist. So, that's it. And the Vaishya. The Vaishya is creating wealth. He is creating splendor. He is creating beauty. The artists also are creating. Production. He is also talking of the production means the normal worker and the industrial production. That also is a different type of activity. Na? The will towards mastery over men, things, life and world and forces of nature. This is the Kshatriya. So you can see very clearly he is including all the types of works possible in the physical world. Okay? So expression of knowledge, the Brahmin. Activities of our emotional and sensational parts, the artist. Okay, the aesthetic part of your being. Activities of outward contact, you can say outward contact is the menial work. So that's the Shudra. Creation, production, the Vaishya. The will turn towards mastery over men, things, life, that is Kshatriya, very clear. So all these type of works which are there, what are we to do with them? How are we to deal with them to divinize them? That's the question is asked. Are they to be abandoned and to be replaced by some other way of living in which a spiritualized substance, spiritualized consciousness can find its true expression? Are we to give up all these things? Are they to be maintained as they are in their outward appearance, but transformed by an inner spirit in the act, or enlarged in scope and liberated into new forms by reversal of consciousness, such as we have seen on earth? That's the yogis. Is that enough? When man took up the vital activities of the animal, mentalized and extended and transfigured them by the infusion of reason, thinking, will, refined emotion and organized intelligence. Note the word infusion of reason. Very interesting. That's exactly what we were discussing about the substance. Huh? So when the infusion means putting into, injection. So when reason is coming into the animal, okay, extend and transfigure them, activities of the animal, reason is being infused into it. So then it becomes mentalized substance. The word is very interesting. Infusion of reason. Very clearly he's talking. When prana is infused into matter, you have living creatures. When reason is infused into living substance, then you have man. And exactly in the same way, the spirit's infusion into matter will give you the supramental race. Thinking will, refined emotion. Thinking will, the mind, pure mind. Refined emotion, the aesthetic part of it. an organized intelligence? Or is there to be an abandonment in part? Not everything to be abandoned, but partly, like the Bhakti Yoga. Do only the works of the Guru, things like that. Going to the temple, going to the church, going to the mosque. Just do some of the things, but not everything. Abandonment in part, preservation only of such of them as can bear a spiritual change, and for the rest, the creation of a new life expressing in its form no less than its inspiration and motive force of the unity, wideness, peace, joy, harmony of the liberated spirit. It is this problem, most of all, that has exercised the minds of those who have tried to trace the paths that lead from the human to the divine in the long journey of yoga. Don't glide over the word long. Okay? It's a very long journey of yoga. So it's not a very easy job. So we have come to
Ranganath, one
tell me.
question. One
Yes.
question, the question about infusion. Like in
Yeah.
our present knowledge of evolution, infusion means something out from outside which is injecting, right? Whereas in
Exactly.
evolution, it is created by itself, right? Or evolved into a human being, or evolved into an animal, or evolved into a life.
You are absolutely right. It has been by itself, it has happened in evolution. That's why Sri Aurobindo calls it a mechanical and unconscious evolution. But the
Yes.
change from spiritual to the supramental is done by Sri Aurobindo. It needs instruments. It has been now a conscious evolution. So your question is a very valid one. Until now, it has been mechanical evolution. It happened by itself. You are right. And that's why it took so long. But now, Sri Aurobindo says very clearly, he says that now from mind to supermind, it's a conscious evolution. You can do it consciously, and therefore it will be much shorter. That's right.
No, what I mean is infusion is someone is putting it into like
Yeah, but
the mind is being put into the animal, whereas the animal has grown into a human being.
no,
It is not,
the
the mind is
nature,
not put.
nature has put, nature is evolving, universal nature is evolving. Universal nature is evolving, and the result is an animal and is a man. Universal nature is evolving. The individual is a result of universal nature evolving. Just think
You
about
know, a very
it.
common example of infusion is
Yes.
when you make your tea, then you take some mint leaves of pudina, crush them
Yes.
and put it inside. So you are
Yes.
infusing that tea with the mint. In the
Exactly.
same way, you have the human being who is a tea. And now you
Yes.
have to put something in that human being for his
That's right.
lower mental being to evolve into a higher mental being. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
No,
Yes,
but what
absolutely.
about from stone to life to animal, animal to human being? It is an unconscious thing. Whereas from
It's
Pallavi, we
human
can-
being to supram.
Listen,
Yes.
it is unconscious. It seems to be unconscious. It is nature at the lowest level, but is there not the supramental even in the inconscient? And the inconscient is pressing this. The superconscient is pressing the inconscient to evolve.
Pallavi, in a way, we can say
Yeah,
that the mint leaves, you don't have to put the mint leaves from inside, outside. It is already present inside, but we are not aware of it.
exactly.
And then when
Exactly.
the pressure comes, the mint leaf, because these are actually
So
physical and
so
I mean, we are telling
the
mentally
word
something which is not
infusion
actually
is
here.
Yeah, the word
Ah.
infusion is putting from outside, whereas we think that it is growing from within. That's what I was confused about.
No, no, what you're saying is right. But remember one thing. Remember one thing. I just mentioned to you. Keep this in mind. The evolution is a result of two forces. One is the inherence. The that which is already there in matter is there already and it is evolving. It is pressing to come out. It is a divine element and pressing to come out. But the evolution is helped by the higher plane putting pressure on the lower. That is the
Okay.
infusion. There is
Okay.
an infusion. Okay, it's a double action
Yes.
from below as well as from above. That's why I use that image of two glasses of water joined by a tube from the at the bottom.
Tube.
So when you have two glasses and the water level is the same in both, okay, if you press one, what will happen? The other will come up. That's exactly what happened. When life from above, because there is a life plane above matter,
Hmm.
when that is pressing, then the life which is there
Okay.
involved in matter comes out.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yes.
So it's a result of two forces. The inherent force of the that which is already involved in matter is wanting to come out because essentially it is divine, but it doesn't have enough force. So the one from above is pressing, encouraging. So evolution is clearly the result of two forces, from below as well as from above. So infusion
Okay,
is
Ranga.
absolutely right.
Merci.
May I
Okay.
say something?
Go ahead.
No, we are living in ignorance and
Yes.
we do not have the capacity to see the consciousness in matter. For
That's right.
example, a sword, say the sword of Tipu Sultan. You and I will just see it as a sword and say, it's a sword. I know nothing more of it. But a
That's right.
yogin, Sri Aurobindo says, has the ability and receptivity to know that this sword fought in so many battles, it killed so many people and it injured so many people.
That's right.
So the yogin has that power to see the consciousness in that sword. But you and I think it is rubbish matter and has no consciousness. So do
But-
we have the capacity to see the consciousness in matter? At least I don't have.
No,
But
we don't have, but we can have by
yeah,
yoga.
yes, but we can develop that by yoga. That is why
Exactly.
mother, when she saw certain embroidery, it may not appeal to you aesthetically, but then she said, oh, it's so beautiful because this person, every stitch that this person took remembered me.
Yes, that's
So
right.
she can see the consciousness in that embroidery.
Yes, that's right.
So we don't have the capacity, so we cannot see it.
That's right. But it is there.
Yeah, it's very
Yes.
much there. But we are
Yes.
ignorant. At least I am.
Yes. Quite right. That's exact. We all are. Don't worry, Yasmin. We all are ignorant and trying to improve ourselves. That's all. Okay, it's 8:40 past. So I wish all of you a very nice day. Okay, we meet tomorrow.
Merci, Rangada.
Okay.
Bonne journée.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci.
Nice day. Have a nice day.
Thank you, Rangana.
Ranga.